The massive Imperial warship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its dark hull blocking out distant stars. Behind it, more ships appeared, dozens, then hundreds, until 324 warships filled the space near Neptune's orbit. Their angular shapes and gleaming armor spoke of power that had conquered 1,000 worlds. But Earth was ready. They had been ready for decades. In the United Earth Defense Command Center, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral James Miller watched the holographic display with steady eyes. Red dots representing the Imperial ships filled one side of the projection. He took a slow sip of coffee, his calm demeanor hiding the gravity of the moment. "Status report," he ordered. "All defense platforms activated, sir," Lieutenant Tom Parker responded from his station. "Shield generators at full power. The lunar base reports ready, and Mars Defense Station is online." Miller nodded. Humanity had prepared for this day ever since they found that crashed Imperial scout ship in the Atacama Desert 50 years ago. The Empire thought Earth was just another primitive world to add to their collection. They were wrong. The first transmission from the Imperial fleet came exactly as their intelligence suggested it would. The massive face of an Imperial ambassador filled the main screen, humanoid, but with gray skin and eyes too large to be human. "People of Earth," the ambassador's voice boomed through the speakers, "I bring greetings from the eternal Galactic Empire. Your world has been chosen to join our great civilization. Prepare for integration." Miller pressed a button on his chair. "This is Admiral James Miller of the United Earth Defense Force. We acknowledge your presence." "Excellent," the ambassador smiled, showing too many teeth. "Our fleet will begin landing procedures. Your military forces will stand down, and your governmental bodies will prepare for transition to Imperial oversight." "Resistance is—" "No," Miller interrupted. The ambassador blinked his large eyes. "I don't understand." "The word no is quite simple," Miller replied. "It means we reject your offer. Earth is not accepting visitors at this time." Confusion crossed the alien's face, followed by amusement. "Admiral, perhaps you don't understand. This is not a request. The Empire has chosen Earth for integration. We have 300 warships in your system. Your primitive defenses cannot hope to." "You have 324 ships," Miller corrected, "including 2 heavy carriers, 15 battle cruisers, and various support vessels, all using Mark 7 Imperial drive systems. Your weapons are primarily focused on the gamma-ray spectrum, with some particle beam technology that's about 300 years behind our current capabilities." The ambassador's gray skin paled further. "How could you possibly?" "We've been watching," Miller said simply. "We've been studying, and we've decided that the Empire isn't ready for contact with Earth yet. You have 12 hours to leave the Sol system." Anger replaced the ambassador's confusion. "You dare threaten the Empire? We have conquered galaxies. We have ruled for 10,000 years. You are nothing but a primitive." Miller pressed another button, and the transmission cut off. He turned to his communications officer. "Send the prepared message to all Imperial ships." Throughout the Imperial fleet, captains received a simple text message in their own language. "Earth closes its borders to Imperial forces. You have 12 hours to leave. This is your only warning." The message was signed with detailed specifications of every ship in their fleet, including structural weaknesses humanity had identified through years of covered observation. Lieutenant Parker looked up from his station. "Sir, they're moving their ships into attack formation." Miller nodded and finished his coffee. "Right on schedule. Activate the quantum barrier. Let's show them why Earth doesn't accept uninvited guests." As the Imperial fleet advanced, they remained unaware that humanity had already placed defense platforms throughout the solar system, hidden in plain sight as debris and asteroids. They didn't know about the quantum technology that made their weapons useless, or the AI systems that could predict their every move. They were about to learn that Earth wasn't just another primitive world to conquer. It was a world that had decided the Empire itself wasn't advanced enough to join human civilization. The real first contact test was about to begin. The Imperial ambassador's face appeared on every screen on Earth. His gray skin seemed paler than before, and his large eyes narrowed with barely controlled anger. Billions of humans watched as he delivered his message. "People of Earth," he began, his voice tight with fury, "your defiance cannot be tolerated. The Empire offers you one final chance. Accept our terms or face destruction." In the United Earth Defense Command Center, Admiral Miller leaned back in his chair. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of monitoring equipment. On the main display, the Imperial fleet had spread into an attack formation that looked impressive, but had several obvious weak points. "Display their terms," Miller ordered. Lieutenant Parker brought up the document on the secondary screen. The Empire's demands were simple. Earth must surrender all military control. Humans would work in Imperial mines and factories. Earth's resources would belong to the Empire. All human technology would be handed over. The Empire would rule Earth through appointed governors. "They still think we're primitive," said Dr. Linda West, Earth's chief scientist. She stood next to Miller's chair, studying the demands with a small smile. "They haven't figured out that we've been in their computer systems for the past 20 years. Miller nodded. "Send our response." The ambassador's broadcast cut off mid-sentence. Instead, every Imperial ship received detailed scans of their own vessels, including the location of every crew member, every weapon, and every weakness in their design. "Impossible," the Imperial fleet commander shouted from his flagship. His sensors showed that Earth had somehow mapped his entire fleet in perfect detail. "Launch the first wave. Show these primitives the power of the Empire." 20 Imperial warships moved forward, their weapons charging. Green energy gathered at their forward cannons as they prepared to fire. In orbit around Earth, thousands of small dark objects that the Empire had dismissed as space debris suddenly came alive. These were Earth's automated defense platforms, hidden in plain sight for decades. "They're charging weapons," Parker reported calmly. Miller pressed a button on his chair. "Activate the shield." A shimmer of blue energy spread across Earth's atmosphere. When the Imperial ships fired, their energy weapons splashed harmlessly against the barrier, creating beautiful patterns of light that amazed people watching from the ground. "Return fire?" Parker asked. "No," Miller said. "Show them the bubble." Dr. West typed commands into her console. Around the 20 attacking Imperial ships, spheres of distorted space appeared. The massive warships suddenly found themselves unable to move or fire their weapons. The ambassador's face appeared again, this time only in the command center. His gray skin had turned almost white. What is this technology?" he demanded. "Something you should have discovered about 800 years ago," Dr. West replied, "if you hadn't been so busy conquering worlds instead of learning from them." Miller stood up and walked closer to the screen. "Here are Earth's terms. The Empire will leave the Sol system. You will mark Earth and its surrounding 100 light years as forbidden territory. Any Imperial ships entering this space will be considered hostile and dealt with." "You cannot make demands of the Empire," the ambassador shouted. "We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. And you've stopped learning for the last 5,000, Miller replied. "That's why you never noticed us studying you. That's why you didn't realize when we started helping other worlds resist your control. That's why you still think bigger ships and more weapons make you superior." The trapped Imperial ships tried to fire their weapons again. Instead, their power systems shut down completely. "We didn't build weapons to destroy you," Dr. West explained. "We built tools to stop you from destroying others. The choice is yours now. Leave peacefully, or we'll be forced to show you exactly how primitive we aren't." In the silence that followed, the Imperial fleet watched helplessly as their 20 advanced warships hung powerless in space, contained by technology they couldn't understand. The test was proceeding exactly as humanity had planned. Now they would see if the Empire could learn its first lesson in humility. The real question wasn't whether Earth would join the Empire, but whether the Empire was ready to join a truly advanced civilization. The Imperial Fleet Commander slammed his fist on his command chair. 20 of his best ships floated helplessly in Earth's orbit, their engines dead and weapons silent. His large eyes glowed with rage as he faced his officers. "Launch full attack," he ordered. "All ships, all weapons." In Earth's Defense Command Center, Admiral Miller watched the Imperial fleet's movement on the main screen. 200 ships were advancing now, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Behind him, Dr. West smiled as she checked her readings. "They're doing exactly what the simulations predicted," she said. "They still think quantity beats quality." Miller nodded. "Begin Operation Lighthouse." High above Earth, thousands of small satellites that had been disguised as communication relays suddenly activated. Each one was smaller than a car, but they contained technology that humanity had perfected over decades of secret development. The Imperial ships fired everything they had. Green and red energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and particle weapons lit up space like fireworks. The attack was meant to overwhelm Earth's defenses through sheer power. It failed. The small satellites created a web of quantum fields. Each weapon the Empire fired simply disappeared into pocket dimensions, emerging harmlessly in empty space thousands of miles away. From Earth, it looked like a beautiful light show. "Impossible," the fleet commander shouted. "Nothing can stop this much firepower." Lieutenant Parker looked up from his station. "Sir, the Empire has used 40% of their weapon energy. Should we demonstrate our capabilities now?" Miller nodded. "Show them what Earth can do. Activate the Atlas Protocol." Dr. West entered a series of commands. The small satellites began to pulse with blue light. Suddenly, every Imperial ship larger than a cruiser found itself growing lighter. Their artificial gravity systems failed, but not because they were broken. "What's happening?" the Imperial ambassador demanded, his face appearing on the command screen again. "What are you doing to our ships?" "Adjusting your mass," Dr. West explained calmly. "We're making your ships lighter so they'll be easier to move. We don't want to damage them when we send them home." As if to demonstrate, one of the Imperial battlecruisers began to move sideways, pushed by forces the Empire couldn't detect or understand. The massive ship, weighing millions of tons, drifted like a leaf in the wind. "This is beyond our science," one of the Imperial scientists admitted, breaking protocol to speak directly. "How did you achieve this level of technology without us noticing?" "We watched, we learned, and we improved," Miller replied. "While you were busy maintaining your empire, we were advancing. Your ships still use the same basic technology you had 1,000 years ago. You stopped innovating." To prove his point, more of Earth's satellites activated. They created a complex pattern of quantum fields that caught all the Imperial ships in a net of energy. The entire attack fleet found itself being gently pushed back, away from Earth. "Stop this," the fleet commander demanded. "The Empire does not retreat." "The Empire also doesn't learn," Dr. West said. "That's why you never developed quantum field technology. That's why you still use basic particle weapons. That's why you never noticed us helping other worlds develop defenses against your ships." On the main screen, they could see panic spreading through the Imperial fleet. Some ships tried to fire their weapons again, but the energy was harmlessly absorbed and redirected. Others attempted to jump to hyperspace, only to find their drive systems wouldn't respond. "We're not destroying your ships," Miller explained. "We're not killing your crews. We're simply showing you that your empire isn't as advanced as you think it is. Earth isn't refusing to join your empire because we're afraid. We're refusing because you're not ready to join us." The Imperial ships continued their forced retreat, pushed back by technology they couldn't fight or understand. Their sensors couldn't even detect how Earth's devices worked. It was like trying to fight gravity itself. "One last demonstration," Dr. West said, pressing a final button. Every Imperial ship's computer displayed the same message: complete technical readouts of their own vessels, along with notes on how each system could be improved. It was Earth's way of showing that they didn't just understand Imperial technology. They had already figured out how to make it better. The test was entering its final phase. Now they would see if the Empire could accept that it had finally met its match, or its better. The Imperial ships hung motionless in space, their crews watching in disbelief as Earth's defense systems continued to demonstrate complete control over their fleet. But the Empire had one last trick, their secret weapon. From the back of the Imperial fleet, a massive ship emerged from its cloaking field. The vessel was twice the size of any other Imperial ship, its black hull decorated with the golden symbols of the Imperial Science Division. "Behold Earth," the fleet commander's voice boomed across all channels, "the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Planet Breaker." In the Earth Defense Command Center, Admiral Miller and Dr. West exchanged knowing looks. "They finally brought it out," Miller said, taking the sip from his coffee mug. "Right on schedule." Lieutenant Parker's fingers moved across his console. "Sir, detecting massive energy buildup in the Planet Breaker. It's like nothing in our records." The Planet Breaker's front section began to split open like a blooming flower, revealing a massive energy cannon. Blue lightning crackled between its petals as it charged its main weapon. "This device has destroyed 7 resistant worlds," the fleet commander announced proudly. "Its power cannot be stopped by any known shield technology." Dr. West stepped forward, speaking clearly into the communication system. "Actually, we were hoping you'd bring this ship. We've been wanting to test something." She nodded to Miller, who pressed a single button on his chair. Above Earth, a new set of satellites activated. These were different from the others. Each one was marked with a simple warning sign, Project Mirror. The Planet Breaker fired. A beam of pure white energy, powerful enough to crack a planet's crust, shot toward Earth. Everyone in the Imperial fleet waited for the inevitable destruction. Instead, the beam hit Earth's quantum shield and split into thousands of smaller beams. Project Mirror's satellites caught each beam, redirected it, and sent it back into space, carefully aimed to miss every Imperial ship. "Impossible," the fleet commander shouted. "Nothing can redirect the Planet Breaker's beam." "We learned about this weapon 2 years ago," Dr. West explained calmly, "when you used it on the Centauri colony. We've been preparing ever since. Would you like to see what else we've learned?" She typed a command into her console. Suddenly, the Planet Breaker's own computer screens lit up with detailed blueprints of its systems, including notes on critical design flaws and suggested improvements. You've been in our most secure systems." The Imperial chief scientist's voice trembled. "But our cyber defenses were impressive," Dr. West finished for him. "About 300 years ago, you stopped improving them, just like everything else." Miller stood up, his voice firm but not unkind. "We're going to demonstrate something now. Not to harm you, but to show you why Earth is closing its borders to the Empire." At his signal, Earth's defense platforms created a sphere of blue energy around the Planet Breaker. Inside the sphere, all the ship's systems except life support and basic functions shut down. "What we just used is called a quantum isolation field," Dr. West explained. "It's what happens when you study quantum mechanics for advancement instead of weapons. Your ship isn't damaged. It's just taking a little nap." Throughout the Imperial fleet, crews watched in stunned silence as their ultimate weapon floated helplessly in space. The Planet Breaker, pride of the Imperial fleet, had been disabled without a single shot being fired. "Now," Miller said, "we're going to give you a choice. You can leave the Sol system peacefully, or we can demonstrate more of Earth's defensive capabilities. Either way, you're leaving. The only question is what you learn from this experience." The fleet commander's face had turned a pale gray. How did humans advance so far without us knowing?" "Because you weren't looking for advancement," Dr. West answered. "You were looking for subjects. There's a difference between ruling the galaxy and understanding it. Earth chose understanding." In the silence that followed, the Imperial ships hung in space, their crews facing a truth they had never expected. They had finally found a civilization that hadn't just resisted the Empire, it had surpassed it. The test was reaching its critical point. Now they would see if the Empire could learn its most important lesson. True power comes from wisdom, not conquest. News spread fast across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, beings of all species watched encrypted broadcasts showing Earth's defense of its solar system. The mighty Imperial fleet hung powerless in space, their ultimate weapon disabled by technology they couldn't understand. In the Imperial Palace on the capital world, the Emperor himself watched the reports with growing concern. His advisors stood silent, fear visible on their alien faces. How did we miss this? The Emperor demanded. How did Earth hide such power from us? Back in Earth's Defense Command Center, Admiral Miller watched multiple screens showing reactions across the galaxy. Dr. West worked at her station, monitoring communications from dozens of worlds. "It's starting," she said, "just as we predicted. The Andromeda Alliance has made their move." On the main screen, a new fleet appeared at the edge of the Sol system. These ships were different. Sleek, silver vessels bearing the mark of the Andromeda Alliance, a group of worlds that had secretly resisted Imperial control for centuries. "This is Admiral Reed of the Andromeda Alliance," a new voice announced on all channels. "We stand with Earth. The time of Imperial dominance is over." The Imperial ambassador's face showed pure shock. "The Alliance, you've been working with them." Miller nodded. "Earth didn't just develop defenses for ourselves. We've been sharing technology with other worlds for decades, helping them prepare for this day." Across the galaxy, more announcements began. The Orion Confederation declared its independence from the Empire. The Pleiades network revealed their own quantum shield technology. One by one, star systems that had been quietly preparing began to stand up. "Impossible," the Imperial fleet commander shouted. "These worlds are under our protection. They need us." "No," Dr. West replied calmly. "They needed help breaking free from you. Earth provided that help. We've spent years teaching them, helping them develop their own technology. Every world you thought was primitive has been preparing for this moment. On dozens of Imperial worlds, hidden quantum transmitters activated. They'd broadcast proof of Earth's successful resistance, showing Imperial citizens that their rulers weren't as powerful as they claimed." Lieutenant Parker looked up from his console. "Sir, we're receiving messages from 17 more star systems. They're all declaring independence from the Empire." The Imperial ambassador's face had lost all its confidence. "You planned this. All of it. This isn't just about Earth. You're breaking up the Empire." "We're helping worlds free themselves," Miller corrected. "The Empire stopped advancing centuries ago. You focused on control instead of progress. These worlds want to grow, to learn, to advance. We're giving them that chance." In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor watched as reports flooded in from across his realm. Worlds that had been quiet and obedient for centuries were suddenly revealing advanced technology. Defense systems appeared around planets that were supposed to be helpless. "Send a message to Earth," the Emperor ordered. Tell them we wish to negotiate." But Earth was already broadcasting its response across the galaxy. "The age of empire is over. The age of cooperation and advancement begins. Any world that wishes to join the new galactic coalition of free worlds is welcome." Dr. West showed Miller a new set of readings. "The quantum network is active across all allied worlds, just as we planned. The Empire can't stop the spread of information anymore." Miller nodded. "Send the final message to the Imperial fleet." Throughout the Imperial ships still hanging powerless above Earth, screens lit up with a simple message: "You have a choice. Leave and reform, or remain and become irrelevant." The galaxy is awakening. The test was revealing its true purpose. Earth hadn't just been preparing to defend itself, it had been preparing to free the galaxy. Not through war or conquest, but through knowledge and advancement. In the silence of space, the Imperial fleet faced a new reality. They weren't just dealing with one defiant world. They were watching their entire empire transform, as centuries of quiet preparation finally bore fruit. The question wasn't whether the empire would fall. The question was whether it would learn to join a galaxy of equals or fade into history as a reminder of why dominance can never match true progress. The Imperial Palace shook as protesters filled the streets of the capital world. On the main screen in Earth's Defense Command Center, Admiral Miller and his team watched as centuries of Imperial control crumbled in a matter of hours. "Sir," Lieutenant Parker called out, "the Emperor himself is requesting direct communication." Miller straightened his uniform. "Put him through." The Emperor's face appeared on the main screen. Unlike his ambassadors and commanders, he looked calm, almost amused. His golden robe sparkled in the light of his throne room. "Earth," he said softly, "you have orchestrated quite a performance." "Not a performance," Dr. West replied. "A revolution, a peaceful one." The Emperor nodded slowly. "In 12 hours, you have done what no civilization has managed in 10,000 years. You have broken the empire, not with weapons, but with knowledge." Across the galaxy, more changes were happening. Imperial governors found their systems locked out as local forces took control. Defense platforms, hidden for years, activated around dozens of worlds. The quantum network Earth had secretly built was spreading information faster than the Empire could stop it. "We're detecting massive fleet movements," Parker reported. "Imperial ships are retreating from 17 star systems." Miller turned back to the Emperor's image. "You have two choices. Accept the new reality, or watch your empire disappear system by system. We don't want war. We want progress." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "And what is this new reality you propose?" Dr. West stepped forward, bringing up a holographic map of the galaxy. Points of light showed all the worlds that had declared independence in the past 12 hours. "A galactic coalition," she explained. "Free worlds working together. Sharing knowledge, not hoarding it. Advancing together, not ruling over each other. The Empire can join us. As equals, not rulers." Suddenly, alarms blared in the command center. Parker's hands flew over his console. "Sir, detecting quantum surges. The Imperial backup fleet is attempting to jump in." The Emperor smiled. "Did you think we wouldn't have contingency plans? 1,000 ships, our most advanced vessels, hidden in slit space. Even your technology can't." Miller sighed and pressed a button on his chair. Throughout the galaxy, on every Imperial ship and station, screens lit up with a new message. Dr. West read it aloud. "Imperial Emergency Protocol 7-19 activated. All Imperial military vessels powering down. Security codes overwritten. Have a nice day." The Emperor's smile vanished. What did you do?" "We didn't just study your current technology," Dr. West explained. "We found your original programming, the base code your entire empire runs on. We've had access to your systems for decades. We just never used it until now." On the tactical display, they watched as the Imperial backup fleet appeared, and immediately lost power. 1,000 of the Empire's best ships drifted harmlessly in space, their crews unharmed but helpless. "This is your final warning," Miller said to the Emperor. "Not just from Earth, but from every world that wants freedom. Every ship you send will be stopped. Every weapon you fire will be useless. The age of empire is over." The Emperor sat back in his throne, and for the first time in recorded history, an Imperial ruler laughed. "Well played, Earth," he said. "You did not just prepare for battle. You changed the rules of the game itself. Perhaps it is time for the Empire to learn something new." Dr. West's console beeped with incoming messages. More systems declaring independence. The quantum network is now active in 60% of Imperial space. Miller faced the Emperor. "You have 1 hour to address your people. Tell them the truth. Tell them about the new coalition. Tell them their worlds are free to choose their own path, or we will broadcast the truth ourselves, and the Empire won't survive the day. The Emperor stood from his throne. You know, he said thoughtfully, in 10,000 years, no one has ever given the Empire an ultimatum it couldn't ignore. Until today. As the transmission ended, Miller and his team watched the galaxy transform. Not through war or destruction, but through the simple power of truth and knowledge spreading faster than any force could stop it. The test was nearly complete. Now they would see if an empire could learn to become something greater, a partner in progress rather than a master of worlds. 1 month after Earth's stand against the Empire, the Great Hall of the newly formed Galactic Coalition buzzed with activity. Representatives from over 300 worlds gathered in the massive space station orbiting Earth. The station, built in secret over decades, now served as a symbol of unity and progress. Admiral Miller stood at the main window, watching ships from different worlds dock at the station. Dr. West joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. Quite a change from a month ago, she said, handing him a cup, when we were facing down the Imperial fleet. Miller nodded, hard to believe how smoothly the transition went. On the main floor of the hall, delegations from former Imperial worlds mingled with Earth's allies. The Emperor himself sat in a simple chair, no longer on a throne above others, discussing technology with scientists from the Andromeda Alliance. Lieutenant Parker approached them with a datapad. Final reports are in, sir. The quantum network now covers 98% of known space. Information flows freely between all member worlds. And the Empire? Miller asked. Reformed, Parker replied. Just as we hoped, the Emperor kept his word. Imperial worlds are now self-governing members of the Coalition. Their technology is being upgraded with Earth's improvements. Dr. West smiled as she watched a group of former Imperial scientists eagerly studying Earth's quantum field technology. They're learning fast. Once they stopped trying to control knowledge and started sharing it, their progress has been amazing. The main screens in the hall activated, showing the new galactic map. Earth's solar system stood at the center, surrounded by a 100-light-year zone marked as protected space, Earth's domain. Beyond that, thousands of points of light showed member worlds of the new coalition. The Emperor walked over to where Miller and Dr. West stood. You knew, didn't you? He asked quietly. You knew that fighting wasn't the answer. That's why Earth never built weapons of mass destruction. Miller nodded. Earth's strategy was never about defeating the Empire. It was about teaching it, showing there was a better way. And now, the Emperor gestured to the gathered delegates. What happens now that you've succeeded? Dr. West brought up a hologram showing new technology schematics. Now we all advance together. Earth shares its knowledge. Other worlds share theirs. No more empire, no more subjects. Just allies in progress. Across the hall, representatives were already planning joint projects. Former Imperial worlds offered their vast experience in space travel. The Andromeda Alliance shared their biological sciences. Earth provided its quantum technology. Each world brought something unique to share. There's one thing I still don't understand, the Emperor said. Why did Earth wait so long? You could have revealed yourselves years ago. Miller smiled. We needed to be sure the galaxy was ready. That's why we helped other worlds develop first. We needed to know everyone could handle true freedom and cooperation. The real test, Dr. West added, wasn't whether Earth could stop the Empire. It was whether the Empire could learn to stop being an empire. The Emperor laughed softly, and we passed. Look around, Miller gestured to the hall. Your people are sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it. Learning instead of commanding. Yes, you passed. A chime sounded through the hall. The first official session of the Galactic Coalition was about to begin. Representatives took their seats. No thrones, no high platforms. Everyone at the same level. Miller addressed the gathered delegates. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history. Earth's borders remain closed to any who seek dominion over others, but they're open to all who seek to learn, to grow, and to advance together. Dr. West added, the age of empires is over. The age of cooperation begins. The Emperor stood with them. And perhaps in time, we will look back and thank Earth, not for defeating us, but for teaching us a better way. As the session began, ships from hundreds of worlds orbited the station peacefully. The galaxy had changed not through war or conquest, but through the simple power of knowledge freely shared. Earth had done more than ban an empire. It had shown the galaxy how to become something greater, a true civilization of equals, advancing together toward a brighter future. The test was complete, and everyone had passed.